The Mask of Sanity. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the city. I stood by my window, a glass of Merlot in hand, watching as the last rays of light faded into the night. The world was shifting. It was almost time for my other self to awaken. Benjamin Hart, the monotone accountant, was slipping away, and the architect was ready to emerge. In the daylight, I was a model citizen, well-dressed, charming, and articulate. My colleagues at the firm admired my meticulousness. They saw me as the reliable one, the go-to guy for the annual audits and financial projections. At lunch, I would regale them with tales of my weekend hiking trips, the beauty of nature, and the tranquility it brought. Little did they know that my weekends were spent in the embrace of shadows, far more intoxicating than any wine. When midnight struck, the air thickened with anticipation. I donned my mask, an unassuming black hoodie, gloves, and a face obscured by darkness. It was a ritual, a transformation. The city at night was my playground, and I was the architect of its chaos. Tonight, I had chosen my victim, a young woman named Lisa, who worked as a waitress at a nearby diner. She was sweet, naive, a flickering flame in the vast, cold emptiness of the world. I watched her smile at customers, her laughter a melody I found both enchanting and repulsive. I had been drawn to her for weeks, an inexplicable connection that tugged at the edges of my consciousness. As I made my way through the alleys, the whispers began. They crawled beneath my skin, urging me forward. The spirits, the entities I had invited into my life, offered their wisdom, their hunger. They thrummed with anticipation, guiding my hand as I navigated the city's labyrinthine streets. Arriving at the diner, I slinked into a corner booth, cloaked in shadows. Lisa was there, her hair glinting under the fluorescent lights. I ordered a coffee, my voice smooth and charming, masking the tempest within. She approached with a smile, and I felt a rush of power. "Hey there, what can I get you?" I could see the way she looked at me, her eyes alight with innocence. "Perfect. Just a coffee, please. The best in town, I hear." I smiled, my heart racing as she turned to fetch my order. With every passing moment, the weight of the spirits grew heavier upon me. They whispered secrets, coaxing me to act. I sipped my coffee, the warmth spreading through me, mixing with the cold dread that curled in my stomach. Time was slipping away, and I needed to make my move. As the diner began to empty, I felt the familiar thrill of anticipation. I waited until the last patron left, the door swinging shut behind them with a soft chime. Lisa was cleaning the counter, humming softly to herself. "Can I help you with that?" I offered, my voice dripping with charm. "Oh, you don't have to," she replied, glancing up with a grateful smile. But I insisted. As we worked side by side, the air crackled with tension. I could feel the spirit swirling within me, a cacophony of desires urging me onward. "Have you ever wondered what lies beyond this world?" I asked, my tone casual, as if discussing the weather. She paused, her brow furrowing. "What do you mean?" "Life, death, the things we can't explain. There's so much more out there." Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. "You mean, like ghosts, or the supernatural?" "Yes," I replied, leaning closer. "There are forces that shape our destinies, unseen but powerful." As she spoke, I felt a surge of energy, a dark, intoxicating force. The spirits were eager, hungry for the offering I was about to make. With the diner cloaked in silence, I turned towards her, my heart pounding. "Lisa, do you believe in fate?" Her inquisitive gaze met mine, and for a fleeting moment I saw the flicker of fear beneath her curiosity. I guess I do. Why? Because I think fate has brought us together tonight. In an instant, the darkness enveloped me. I felt the spirit surge, taking control. My hands moved of their own accord, reaching for her throat. "Benjamin!" she gasped, her eyes widening in horror. But it was too late. The architect had taken over, and I was merely a spectator watching as the shadows danced and twisted around us. When it was over, I stood in the aftermath, the weight of my actions crashing down like a tidal wave. I felt exhilarated and disgusted. The spirits whispered sweet nothings, wrapping around my consciousness, but I could still hear the echoes of her final breaths. I left the diner, the cool night air biting against my skin, cleansing in a way. Each step away from the scene was a step deeper into the abyss, and yet, the thrill of the hunt lingered like a drug on my tongue. In the days that followed, the world resumed its normalcy. I returned to work, greeted by smiles and casual banter. I laughed along, the mask perfectly in place. Benjamin Hart, the charming accountant with a hint of mystery. No one suspected the darkness that lay beneath, the chaos that danced behind my eyes. But the spirits were restless, demanding more. I felt their hunger gnawing at my insides, pushing me toward the next offering. Each night I walked the streets, searching for my next victim. The thrill of the chase became an addiction, a siren's call that I could not ignore. I began to notice patterns in the darkness. Each victim brought with them a thread of energy, a connection to the other side. With each act of violence, I felt the veil between worlds grow thinner. The spirits grew stronger, their whispers clearer, guiding my hand with precision. One evening, while preparing for my next hunt, I stumbled upon a gathering of the occult. A circle of hooded figures convened in an abandoned warehouse, chanting in a forgotten language. I felt a magnetic pull, an invitation to join their ranks. Under the cover of darkness, I slipped inside, the air thick with incense and anticipation. They welcomed me, sensing the darkness that dwelled within. I became a part of their rituals, learning the ways of the arcane, the art of summoning. I was no longer just a killer. I was a conduit, a vessel for something far greater than myself. The spirits I had invited in began to merge with my very essence, granting me knowledge and power beyond imagination. As I delved deeper, I learned of a ritual that promised to amplify my abilities, a rite of passage that would bind me to the spirits forever. It required a sacrifice, a pure soul that would serve as the final key. I pondered my options. There were many candidates, but one stood out. A colleague named Claire, a kind-hearted woman with an unyielding spirit. She was everything I loathed yet admired. Sacrificing her would not only elevate me, but would also bring the spirits into full alignment with my will. The night of the ritual arrived, tension crackling in the air. I lured Claire into the warehouse under the guise of needing help with a project. She entered, oblivious to the darkness that awaited her. As we stood within the circle, the chanting began. I felt the spirits swirl around us, their energy electrifying. Claire's eyes widened in fear, realization dawning too late. "Benjamin, what are you doing?" she pleaded, her voice trembling. I wanted to comfort her, to explain that this was not personal, merely a means to an end. But the spirits surged, drowning out her cries. In that moment I became a tempest, a fusion of flesh and spirit. The ritual unfolded, and I could feel the power coursing through me, amplifying my darkest desires. As the final incantation echoed in the air, I held Claire's trembling body, the life slipping away from her. The spirits sang, their voices a haunting melody that filled my mind. But just as I was about to complete the sacrifice, I felt a jolt. A surge of resistance erupted from within me, a voice that was not my own. "You will not claim her." The spirits recoiled, and in that moment of chaos, I felt the tether of control shatter. I was thrown back, the energy erupting into a blinding light that engulfed the warehouse. When I awoke, I was alone in the wreckage. The warehouse lay in ruins, the remnants of the ritual scattered like broken glass. Claire was gone, her spirit lost to the void. I felt an emptiness gnawing at my core, a void that echoed with the absence of the spirit's presence. I stumbled out into the night, the world around me shifting. The shadows whispered in a language I could no longer understand, the connection severed. I was a lone wolf, cast adrift in a sea of darkness. Days blurred into nights, and I drifted through life like a ghost. The thrill of the hunt had faded, replaced by an insatiable hunger I could not quench. I returned to my mundane existence, a hollow shell masquerading as Benjamin Hart. Then, one evening, as I prepared to head home, I received a message, a simple text. "I know what you are." My heart raced. I looked around, the walls closing in. Someone was watching, someone had seen the darkness that lurked beneath my mask. I followed the trail of messages, leading me to an unmarked building on the outskirts of town. A sense of dread washed over me as I approached. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit room filled with candles and symbols I recognized from my time with the cult. In the center stood a figure cloaked in shadows. "You've wandered too far into the abyss, Benjamin," they intoned, their voice a haunting echo. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice steadier than I felt. "I am the one who will bring you back," they replied, stepping into the light. It was a woman, her eyes shining with an otherworldly glow. "But first, you must confront the darkness within." As she spoke, the shadows danced around us, weaving a tapestry of my past. I was forced to relive each moment of horror, each sacrifice. The spirits I had summoned, the souls I had taken, they all stood before me, their faces twisted in anger and sorrow. "You've lost control," the woman said, her voice a soothing balm amidst the chaos. "But it's not too late to reclaim your life." I felt the weight of her words, the struggle within me intensifying. The spirits surged, clawing at my mind, demanding release. But in that moment I understood. The true power lay not in chaos, but in choice. "I choose to end this," I declared, my voice rising above the cacophony. The shadows recoiled, the spirits screaming as I severed the bond that had held me captive. With each declaration I felt lighter, the darkness peeling away like layers of skin. The woman smiled, her expression a mixture of pride and relief. "You have the strength to overcome this. Embrace your humanity," she said. As the last remnants of the spirits dissipated, I took a deep breath, the air cleansing my soul. The shadows faded, leaving me standing in the light. I stepped back into the world, the night sky stretching above me, vast and infinite. But the darkness still lingered, a chilling reminder of the path I had walked. The text message still echoed in my mind. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see the figure from the building. As I walked away, a smile crept onto my lips. Perhaps this was not the end, but merely a pause in the dance between light and dark. After all, the architect was still within me, waiting for the right moment to emerge once more. And so, the story remains unfinished, the shadows ever present, as the struggle between the self and the darkness continues.